Bring to us your poetry from inspiration sought. Come join us with your images, your verses, words and thought. From here we'll share your balladry with those who do not know it. This platform's here for you to show the world that you're the poet.
Welcome to episode 51 of You're the Poet, the poetry podcast featuring you. I'm host Matt Burgio, and I'm here with co-host Phil Burgio. Phil, welcome.
Glad to be here.
Here at You're the Poet, our purpose is to share our love of poetry with the world and invite you to do the same. We want to start by saying thank you to all of our listeners who have made You're the Poet possible. We hope you enjoy the podcast and the poetry that is shared here. Our featured guest for this episode of You're the Poet is Claire Deakin Dreamweaver, who is joining us from the Midlands of England. Dreamweaver, welcome to You're the Poet.
Hello.
We're glad you could join us, and we look forward to your contribution to the episode. To start things off, I'm going to share a classic poem for the episode. This is a poem by Walter de la Mare, who's an English poet, short story writer, and novelist. He's most noted for his psychological horror short fiction, his works for children, and his poem, The Listeners, which I'll be sharing today. He lived his life in the UK. He was born April 25th, 1873, and died June 22nd, 1956. He was married to Elfrida Ingpen, and they had 2 sons and 2 daughters. He won the James Tate Black Memorial Prize for Fiction in 1921 for his novel Memoirs of a Midget, and in 1947 won the Carnegie Medal from the Library Association for his collected stories for children. His ghost stories influenced many future writers of the genre, and even H.P. Lovecraft found his work admirable. The poem I'm sharing today, The Listeners, gives us a little glimpse into this. The Listeners was first published in 1912 in The Listeners and Other Poems. I like that this poem caught Robert Frost's attention. He appreciated the double meter that de la Mare used, saying, depending on how one performed them, all the lines can be read with 3 or 4 stresses. So without further ado, here's The Listeners. "Is there anybody there?" said the traveler, knocking on the moonlit door, and his horse in the silence chomped the grasses of the forest's ferny floor. And a bird flew up out of the turret above the traveler's head, and he smote upon the door again a second time. "Is there anybody there?" he said. But no one descended to the traveler. No head from the leaf-fringed sill leaned over and looked into his gray eyes, where he stood perplexed and still. But only a host of phantom listeners that dwelt in the lone house then stood listening in the quiet of the moonlight to that voice from the world of men. Stood thronging the faint moonbeams on the dark stair that goes down to the empty hall, hearkening in an air stirred and shaken by the lonely traveler's call. And he felt in his heart their strangeness, their stillness answering his cry, while his horse moved, cropping the dark turf neath the starred and leafy sky. For he suddenly smote on the door even louder and lifted his head. "Tell them I came, and no one answered, that I kept my word," he said. Never the least stir made the listeners, though every word he spake fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house from the one man left awake. Aye, they heard his foot upon the stirrup, and the sound of iron on stone, and how the silence surged softly backward when the plunging hooves were gone. Walter de la Mare.
I could see where Frost liked that poem.
I've never heard of it, but it sounded okay.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it either. And then as I was studying, actually, I heard about de la Mare from a reference that Phil made about one of our other classic poems, one of the poets there. And when I looked him up and found that he was popular for these sort of the psychological or the horror writings, as we're getting close to Halloween here, I thought this was very fitting. And I just like the unanswered questions of the poem. Like even the reader doesn't know why he came back to the house or, what promise he had made and whatnot. So I just kind of like the whole mystery of it all. All right, from here, we're going to turn it over to Phil to share his poem for the episode.
This poem is called Thoughts as Clouds. My thoughts are like clouds, both white or gray, sometimes red on an angry day. At sunset they fade to a gentle light, when Morpheus comes to settle the night. Thoughts and memories surge and swirl, clouds in my mind that blossom and whirl. Some are gentle, some are blue, as the cloud will shift its flowing hue. The clouds reform shapes in my mind that sees animals' faces on a billowing breeze. Images in my head are presented as clouds that shift and flow, some quiet, some loud. That's how I view my inner mind, with swirls and curls of a nebulous kind. Philip Burgio.
All right, thank you for sharing. I really like this and the concept of just kind of getting lost in the clouds and the shapes and colors of the clouds. Well done with the imagery there.
Thank you. My friend Jim, philosophy major in college, says this reminds him of the Buddhist philosophy about thoughts and memories. So that was interesting.
Yes, very nice imagery. I wrote a few things about clouds and being up there with clouds and dreaming and whatnot. In fact, my first book cover is a girl sitting in the clouds. Very relatable.
Very cool.
Thank you.
All right, from here, I'm going to share a poem for the episode. Again, with fall setting in here, and we're kind of blessed to live in an area of the world where our deciduous trees change color, green turning to oranges and reds and yellows, and it's very pretty in the fall here. And then the trees start to shed their leaves, and then we get these swirling colors for the fall. And so I had a friend tell me once that it looked like the trees were dancing during a breezy fall day, and so that inspired this poem that I wrote. It's called "The Trees Are Dancing." It looks like the trees are dancing and swaying with the breeze. I wonder about the song it sings that animates the trees. What melody would make them prance or frolic side to side, shaking all their limbs and leaves in flowing autumn stride? The maples and the sassafras, the birches, oak, and beech go waltzing with the hickory, the apple, and the peach. The poplars come cavorting in, accompanying the pine, and festive fun is had by all along the whole tree line. The mulberries do the mambo, the walnuts do a stomp, the ash and elm then caper in and add a roaring romp. Their vivid colors swirl and leap to autumn's joyful tune, until across the neighborhood their leaves are gaily strewn. Throughout the day they dance this dance, a musical soiree, and celebrate the season with a dazzling ballet. It looks like the trees are dancing and swaying with the breeze. I wonder about the song it sings that animates the trees. Matthew Burgio.
I like that one. I like the flow. I like rhyming. A lot of my earlier stuff was rhyming. It is still, but I like the flow of that. Yeah, I can just see the trees. I don't know some of these trees, but imagine driving down a long lane and seeing all the leaves falling down and the trees being bare and the different colours. Lots of it. So I like that one very much.
I get the image of a Disney movie and Lord of the Rings with the ants kind of like blended together, the dancing trees. Because Disney had one of his cartoons had trees dancing, and naturally, if you're a Tolkien fan, the ants.
Oh, well, thank you guys. Appreciate that.
That's good. That's a good one, Matt.
Yeah, I've always liked that one. This is actually a song I would love to set to music someday, and I kind of have the melody of the beginning in my head and how it would be, but I would love to hook up with a musician sometime and make it come to life.
What style? Blues?
No. I picture it as sort of like a choral piece, like a vocal choral piece with piano accompaniment.
Well, they put Joyce Kilmer's Trees to music.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, from here, we're going to turn to our guest portion of the episode. Claire, you're the poet. Show us what you've got.
The first one, I wrote it as I was getting to know the person who went on to inspire most of my poetry. Became a good friend. To me, I just call him Sam, but to everybody else, they know as Sam Ryder, the English singer-songwriter. He's big in the US. He's been all over the place, and now he's back over here promoting his second album. But this is like, are we friends, like sort of thing. Am I a fan or a friend? And he says, like, I think you're more of as a friend, like sort of thing, a fan friend. So this is what I wrote back then. It's called What Are We? Are we friends yet? I can't really tell for sure. I've been hanging round recently trying to relate and find some common ground. I've been trying to clarify what is between you and I. Do we have common ground? It's quite hard, as I'm sure there's none to be found. Are we acquaintances, friends or more? I can't really tell for sure. What do you say? Are we growing closer or are we drifting away? Is our bond being torn apart? Are we to end up with a broken heart? So give it some thought, at least a day or two, then maybe you can say what is between me and you. Are we acquaintances or friends? Is there a label that can indicate if we are stable? Can you relate to anything and find some common ground, so I don't waste my time hanging around? If we have more, I want you to be sure. If not, then please tell me what is what. I want us to grow closer, not drift apart. I want us to be happy and hold you deep within my heart. I offer out a branch, an arm of friendship, to be close, not joined at the hip. But if you're not interested in anything like that, then please let me know so I can turn away and go. And that's by Claire Deakin, Dreamweaver.
All right. Thank you for sharing. I think a lot of us have dealt with that with various people, whether it's friends or acquaintances or, even lovers, trying to decide what is it. There's sometimes that uncertainty about the nature of the relationship. And, I think a lot of us want to be on the same page. And so I think a lot of us have dealt with that in one way or another.
Yeah, it was nice having feedback when I first started sharing it on Facebook, because to me, it was just my words, my poetry. But then I had a lot of people saying that they could relate to it and that is their story, like sort of thing. They're in that sort of situation where they want to know what's what with this significant person. So it was comforting and encouraging for me to hear that my words resonate with a lot of my readers.
And we get that a lot from our other guests and from feedback that people, I could relate to that. This happens a lot with poems that people put out, or our poems or guest poems, where people will comment, I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
Poetry is good, keeps people together.
Yes, it does. It forms connections and it keeps us connected.
Definitely. Got another one for us?
Yes. This one's taken from my second book. I started writing in 2022, and after being in lockdown, and I just returned back to church, and we'd lost quite a lot of people from the congregation, and one person had literally had the funeral the week before I went back to church. She was really struggling with grief. So I wrote one, and then one became two, and then I wrote a whole load of condolences and sympathy verses. So this one's entitled A Pause for Thought. No one knows exactly how long we'll be on earth. We're all dying a little, each and every day from birth. We never know God's reasons for creating me, or what we're going to do, or who we'll be. When a loved one finishes their journey, it leaves us feeling sad and blue, to remember there'll be no more of me and you. It hurts us knowing that they're gone and will be no more. They're growing their wings and have flown through the door. We remember the good times we had, all we loved we shared, all the things we did to show we cared. But as time goes by, we grow and learn. We each have a different path and a direction to turn. We walk down a memory lane, down through the years. We remember all that we lost and we begin to shed tears. But sometimes the moments are filled with laughter and things we thought we forgot. Our precious memories are the only possessions we've got. Be thankful for all your family and friends. It is plenty or it be a few. They're the ones that help us through the tough times and we're feeling blue. So until the day comes that we reach the end of time, we must try hard to love those around us and find peace of mind. By Claire Deakin.
All righty.
We were talking about relating to poems. I can relate to that one because I found out this week I lost a friend. I can relate to that. Definitely the poem, just like, whoa, I start thinking of my friend that had just passed away.
I chose poems of genres that I've had a lot of feedback from. Everybody can relate to love. Everybody can relate to death and grief and everything. So it brought me comfort, and that's the top where my second book came from, the Dreamer's Faith and Her Words of Comfort, because it brought me comfort and other people comfort reading my poems, especially when I was going through difficult times, and it reassured them. My second book, I sold about 50, 60 copies at my church.
No, at the church?
In one signing, yes. They're my biggest supporters there at church.
Nice.
The whole congregation had them.
Well, that's great. And I think, like you said, these are things that people can definitely relate to. I actually meant to give Phil the heads up that you were reading this poem because my mom passed away about 3 years back, and some of that still triggers some things with the grief and the sorrow. Even today at church, at her funeral, How Great Thou Art was one of the songs that she really liked, and they played it at church today. And there were a couple moments I had to stop singing because I was going to bust into tears if I just kept going. So I had to stop and take a breather. So yeah, so these are definitely things that people relate to, and I think that it's good to have poetry out there that people can read and think about. And I love how this poem also had that mix of the sad memories and the feelings of loss, but also that those memories might have laughter and be thinking about the good times. So I like the balance there.
Thank you.
Now you got me teary-eyed.
Sorry. All right, before we move on to the final poem, tell us a little bit about what you've got going on in the poetry world. I know you've already mentioned a couple of books, but if you can tell us about your writing journey. You said you just started writing a few years back.
Well, yes, I started writing because I took early retirement back in 2022 due to ill health. So I found myself very bored and I thought I'd write a few bits and bobs. But it took off around about August, and I wrote a poem for Sam Ryder and I tagged him on Facebook, not thinking much of it until I got a message back thanking me for it. We became acquaintances and fans and friends, that sort of thing. And every step of the way, he's been like cheering me on. So my first book, which is A Dreamer's Heart, A Journey of Love Through Poetry, it's like a journey about our friendship and all the other emotions that come in generalised falling in love with various people. And I drew my poetry from my experience from different stages of friendships, love and relationships, and finding love on and connections with people on various levels. So I very quickly went on and my collection built. And it wasn't until I was approached to do the anthology, The Poetess, I was struggling to figure out how I would bring my own collection to light and publish them. And then one day, the thought came to me, a trilogy. I categorised all the poems and read them over 3 books. So the first one is all my friendship and love poetry. My second one is A Dreamer's Faith and Her Words of Comfort, which is a compilation of religious and empathetic verses, offering words of comfort and reassurance to those who seek solace. As my poetry received positive and emotional responses, weaving a tapestry of hope and understanding. As a devout Christian, some of my pieces took on prophetic quality, conveying God's message for both the past and future. These poems came from personal experience from dealing with loss and fueled by my writing, cultivating empathy and understanding for those navigating grief. So that my faith and biblical perspective, I interpreted loss and forged a connection to the past. That was the whole essence of my poems, and it echoes in continuation in my 4th book, because the 4th book is like an extension of the trilogy in essence, because the first 3 books were all released inside a year. I wrote for a year, then I published them all in a year. So then I thought I'd write some more. And my 4th book, my writing took a cathartic journey, a longing for love and a sense of belonging, an enduring spirit that led me to hope. I found beauty in the midst of life's challenges and poignant collection of poems of my personal memories of the challenges I faced through childhood into motherhood, in particular the unique challenges of raising children with special needs. The deeply personal collection of my poems is a testament to a human's spiritual ability to overcome all encountered whilst growing up, the importance of human connections and the power of love to heal. The collection also highlights challenges I faced in the classroom and beyond, and it explores the simple pleasures I found in life and is a reflective glimpse and is totally relatable with regards to the struggles shared by readers who have faced similar concerns. A reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always light to be found. Readers will feel the love for my family as it shines through, and the journey I took to overcome my childhood trauma. These poems celebrate my unwavering love and dedication to being a parent, offering a raw and honest exploration of my life lived, acknowledging the emotional toll and sacrifices I made through adversity and resilience. The internal battles with dealing with both mental and physical health, a candid fate, a favourite holiday, or a celebration of beauty, of nature, or my love of animals. So that sums up the collection from my childhood in order, everything sort of thing. And I wrote about my writing journey that started when I was in school, which would take me to the third poem. But yeah.
Okay.
When I've shared these poems, that's where I've had the emotional connection from the readers because they've related to them. Sorry, I'll go on forever.
No, yeah, that's great. Real quick, so you mentioned 4 books. Can you go ahead and just tell me the titles of them again?
Yeah. The first one is A Dreamer's Heart, A Journey of Love Through Poetry. The second one is A Dreamer's Faith and Her Words Comfort. The third one, A Dreamweaver's Life, A Reflection of Me. And my fourth one is My Poetic Outpouring.
All right, we'll definitely share links to those. I'm assuming those can be found online.
Yes, my 3 books are all available on Amazon globally and most reputable online stores throughout USA, UK, and Europe.
Okay, wonderful. I'll definitely share some links for that so the listeners can find those if they're interested. And is there any other, do you have a website or any other place where people can find you online that you'd like to share?
Yes, I do have my website. It's dreamweaverauthor.com.
All right, we'll definitely share a link to that as well so people can find your work there on the website.
Got another poem for us there.
Yes. Well, I was bought for choice. This one is taken from the third book, and it was the beginning of my writing journey and just sums up how I came to write and what I wrote about. And it's entitled My Words. There is not much to say apart from my words can paint a picture in my mind. My work depends on my mood, as I've said so many times before. Nothing or anyone in particular inspires me. My words just flow through ease through me. No pretense, these are my words as they tumble through my mind, but until pen to paper I do find. I am happy standing in the shadows of my work, instead of trying to shine because my inner light is not so bright. I let my words tell you my story, as I don't like to let people see the real me. My words can't reach further than I can never expect to travel, far beyond the land and sky or any distance between you and I. My words can make you happy whenever you're feeling down. They guide you through the darkness when the sun goes down. Like the moon, they can guide the way as you continue on your way. My words are kind and sincere and true. I can use them to tell you everything little about you. I won't sugarcoat or insist we're in the same boat. You can choose to listen or ignore. I'll tell you again like I've once before. I choose to remain in the shadows to tell my story that nobody knows. I would lend you a candle for a light you can handle, as like I said, my inner light is not so bright. Use the candle and stay close to me to hear all the words that I have to say about all the things I've seen along the way. My words can take you on a journey of twists and turns, highs and lows, through a land of wonder nobody else knows. I can use them to paint a picture so you can see all the beautiful things that are surrounding me. From the birds in the trees to the animals on the ground, there is so much to see if you stop and look around. There is true beauty in this vast land. Come with me and I'll show you around. The animals and places, there is so much to see. I can never get bored of using my words to help you see visually. The time has come for me to come out of the shadows so people can put a face to the author of words that they know. My inner light is shining brighter as my journey continues with the night into the day where it is lighter. You can see for yourself all that I have told you about, from the birds in the trees to the animals on the ground. You can see the true beauty of this vast land. No more need to guide you or show you around. I'll still use my words each day because they bring happiness and sunshine in every word I say. Claire Deakin, and it's the beginning of my writing journey. As I found inspiration everywhere, writing became my way of coping.
All right, thank you.
I like that line. It's a simple line. Take the candle and stay close to me. For some reason, it just draws me to want to listen to the rest of the poem.
Yeah, very good job with the whole journey and the concept. I like that there's so much we could do in our words. And I think as poets, a lot of us feel that way, especially those of us that are more of the introverts, that we speak our emotions and our feelings and what we see and want to express through our words, especially when we don't want to be seen.
Yeah. As I say, this is the turning point, not just writing the poems, but then I decided to come out of the shadows and into the light and let people know who I am. So that's when I decided to share them online and then get my books published. It all ties in, that sort of thing. I write about my life and about my family and my health. You don't realise how much people can relate to you when you go through physical and debilitating health conditions or mental health. You write about it at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then you'll have somebody pop up and say, that's exactly how I'm feeling. So it's a journey I'm still on, and I'm glad that God, well, through some of my strength, is giving me the gift of life so I can continue writing and sharing my words with the people that are around me and in the world.
Well, I'm glad you've made that transition. And I like that part of the poem too, that transition from being in the shadows to wanting to come out into the light to help people see with your words. And I think that's important. I'd say it's half of what we exist for as poets. A lot of us, we write for our own personal, getting our feelings out there, getting our thoughts out there. But I think that other half of poetry is giving an outlet for other people to relate to our words and to use those words for healing and for getting through things in their life or seeing things from different perspectives too. Sometimes it's not necessarily just healing, but maybe they never thought of something in the way that you've expressed it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, before we move on, is there anything else you want to say about poetry or your poetic journey?
Like I said, I've got the 4th book due out next year, so I'm just currently working on editing it. Because after seeing the other books in print, I'm so meticulous and picky that I just don't like how it sits on the paper. So I'll be going to relaunch them next year with new covers and tied up the covers, the interiors, and then I'm going to release my 4th book.
All right. Well, keep us up to date on all that, and we'll help you spread the word on that and help you promote them. And maybe we'll even have you back on to read some more poetry and promote those books when they're back out.
Okay, thank you.
All right. As we wrap things up, I want to let our listeners know that we are grateful that you've taken the time to tune in. We hope you're enjoying the poetry shared here, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with others. If you would like to support You're the Poet and what we're doing here, there are a couple of ways to help. You can find links on our website to our Buy Me a Coffee patron site, as well as our You're the Poet store, where you can buy You're the Poet merchandise and share your love of poetry with the world. Thank you for your support as we continue to grow. If you've written any poetry and you want to share it here, whether you just have an interest in poetry, consider yourself an amateur poet, or are a professional poet with published works, contact us to be a guest on a future episode. Please check out our website and various social media outlets to keep up to date with You're the Poet. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our website, you'rethepoet.com. Until next time, Phil, thanks for joining us.
Good night and joy be to you all.
Good night.
Dreamweaver, thank you for being our guest.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you both. Goodbye.